there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
I'm Hart D Fisher, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour. You better strap down and get ready. It's gonna get bumpy.
The views and opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. And today it's an honor and a huge privilege to have founder and owner of Boneyard Press, and also has a groovy TV show on American Horror's channel, Mr. Hart D Fisher. After 15-year hiatus, Boneyard Press is back and publishing comics after hitting their Kickstarter goal. But we're going to talk about all this stuff. So Hart, thank you for being on the podcast today, man. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be on, and it's a pleasure to be on with anybody who knows the Groovy one. God rest Groovy's soul up, and rest in power, Groovy. We miss you, buddy.
You got that right. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about that bald-headed man.
Agreed. Agreed. It really, losing him last year. Groovy TV is going to be back on American Horrors. For folks who didn't know, I run the American Horrors television channel. American Horrors, we had 2 million viewers for August, so we kicked a lot of butt. And we're free. We're free on Roku. You can watch us on www.americanhorrorsfilmfestival.com or at the Boneyard Press page, www.boneyardpress2020.com. And did I mention it's free? And you could also watch it, I believe, gluedtv.com. Also, they have us up on their stream.
So, Groovy, I know that you're up there watching, man, and listening. So don't you fret, man. Nobody's forgot about you, that's for sure, because you tremendously me and Hart out for sure a lot.
We're doing a second season of Groovy TV. It's something that I've been gearing myself up to do. And I've been working with all the boys from the original show. I've been working with Snow from Italy. I've been working with the designs, the guys from Bored as Hell, Spencer, and all the guys from Mafia Exorcist, and the Hail Satan guys. So the original Groovy TV, and we're going to be digging up more Groovy interviews. So more classic, awesome interviews by Groovy are going to be on it. So that's going to happen more near the fall.
That's awesome. Good way to pay homage to our man. Good deal. 2021 marks the 30-year anniversary of Boneyard Press, man. What comes to mind when you think of 30 years for Boneyard Press existence? If anything, has it met your expectations and then some possibly, or just a lot of obstacles?
I'm going to paraphrase a friend of mine from one of the videos that's on our YouTube channel. If anybody wants to see clips from me on my time in the talk show industry, being a bad guy and knocking the crap out of all of these talk show hosts. So these guys on these talk shows, they're dumb as mud. They don't know anything. So it's real easy to kind of knock them out and knock them down. You know, you're all set up on the show, and you can see that at www.youtube.com/crime pays Hart, H-A-R-T. But Boneyard Press, what sums up 30 years of Boneyard Press? Pain. Lots of pain. These books weren't made for children. These books were made by adults for adults, and they leave wounds and scars. That's what Boneyard Press makes me think of. And my mom. I recently lost my mother, and she was one of my biggest supporters in the comic book business. She helped me as a child. I've been writing and drawing comic books since I was 5 years old. And my mother was really awesome. She supplied me with all the paper I could possibly use. I had all the pencils, all the crayons, so I could do anything I wanted on the pages. And I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and frankly, it was a pretty violent neighborhood. And it was probably a good thing that I was in the house drawing my own books most of the time. And she really encouraged me, and she would take my comics to work where she worked. She worked for the Department of Public Aid in Illinois. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and she would Xerox my books, and I would sell these books at school.
Mm-hmm.
Only then it was called Warp Comics, WARP, Warp Comics. And I drew so much stuff. And Bill the Bull, this character that we're doing the Omnibus for, was the first one that I really took off with in high school. I started drawing it freshman year of high school, and I loved it. I loved doing the character. I enjoyed doing Boneyard Press very much. You know, I went through a really rough time doing comics with a lot of murder, death, suicide, robberies. My house got ripped off a couple of times. It was a really crazy time. So the books are pretty insane, and the Bill the Bull book is really out there. I mean, it's a half man, half bull, alcoholic thug for hire on the streets of Chicago in a quasi supernatural milieu. And he's mean. He's funny, and he's mean, and he's like 7 feet tall, 400 pounds. And we never really no one ever deals with why he's a bull or anything. It's just, he is. So there's no damn origin story. It's just, he's Bill the Bull, damn it. Give me some whiskey.
And he's behind you on the painting right there. If anybody doesn't know that,
he's right behind
right
you.
there. So
this is an airbrush painting, by the way, from the original days of Boneyard. I would have this on tour with me when I go around and do comic conventions. This would be my backdrop. And so that's Bill the Bull. It's got Dark Angel in there. It's got his partner, Nick, and another character called Dead Man Walking.
Yeah, that's amazing. I absolutely love that, dude. Now, was Bill the Bull your alter ego? Was this you to protect and fight and be the I guess the vigilante to say stop it? I mean, be the hero sort of deal.
Well, as a kid growing up reading comic books, you get a hero complex, you get a superhero complex, and I was a Marvel maniac. I read everything, Charleston Comics, Eclipse. I mean, I just read everything I could get my hands on, Heavy Metal Magazine, Epic Illustrated. And I'm kind of smart, and I'm kind of mature, and my parents were educated, and neither one of them did drugs or drank alcohol, just a little tiny bit. I think I saw my father drunk maybe twice in his life, maybe twice. And my mom was a teetotaler. She doesn't, but they smoked cigarettes. They smoked my dad had like a 2-3 pack a day habit at one point. And they were readers. So my father's favorite writer was Mickey Spillane, Mike Hammer. And I grew up reading this stuff and reading the original James Bond, Ian Fleming books. And so I read Stephen King, and I had free reign at the library. That was one of my favorite places as a kid, was to go to the library. Just trying to get there and back was kind of tricky, though, with the bullies and stuff.
Yeah.
And so the Bill the Bull character was my buddy in high school. Originally, he was my best friend, Bill Parcham, and I was his sidekick. And it was Bill and Hart. It was Bill the Bull and Hart. And it was a superhero book. And then the book just started getting dark, but so did my life. I started having more violence in my life, and I grew up with so much, oh God, everybody I knew was getting beaten. I knew a lot of my best friends were getting beaten up by their parents. Their parents would beat them up in front of me. I got beat up plenty in this area, and I just saw a tremendous amount of sexual molestation and a lot of that crap. My friends were victimized in that way by people in their family. So the character just got darker and darker because life got darker. My life just got darker and darker. And then when I went to college, I started doing martial arts. I started doing Taekwondo, and I started weightlifting. And because I was a scrawny 6'2", 160-pound long distance swimmer. And I really went into the martial arts hardcore and started doing Taekwondo, and I started getting a lot thicker, and I started getting a couple of tattoos. And by the time I did Boneyard Press in 1991, when I was leaving college, I was a bouncer at a bar called Mabel's down in Champaign, Illinois. So my life had gotten dark. So all of a sudden, when I brought Bill the Bull back out and I drew the first Dark Angel Bill the Bull book, from Boneyard Press in 1991, it got dark. And I didn't think he was my alter ego, but I'll tell you, my artist did. And I didn't think I was Bill the Bull at all. If anything, I felt I was more akin to Dark Angel. And So I didn't see myself in that way. And plus, I had a lot of people in my life I thought were my friends, but they were just gaslighting the hell out of me. And so once I got rid of these guys who were, knocking me down and belittling me, and I got better people into my life, and I walked away from the industry in 2004, I started talking to my guys again. Like I showed up at a show in 2011 to launch American Horrors, and they all told me everybody thought Bill the Bull was me. Everybody thought I was Bill the Bull.
See?
And I got the hair, and I'm lacking I dropped about 20 pounds of muscle off me during my wife's cancer. I couldn't work out. I couldn't go to the gym or nothing.
Sure.
And I went right from dealing with her medical care into helping my mother. My mother was having difficulties. She had brain surgery. So it's been a difficult route. So I've lost a lot of that muscle mass, and I'm a reasonably big fella, but I think I'm also cantankerous and loud and obnoxious, and I like my Jack and Coke. I got to admit, I like my Jack and Coke. And my sense of humor, if I'm drinking, it gets fucking mean. It gets real fucking mean, and I know it. Whoops.
Bill the Bull right there, boys.
Yeah. Yeah, so now everybody's saying you're Bill the Bull, so we want to do, after we bring back the comics, we're doing this 325-plus page omnibus. We've got all this amazing artwork in it. It's every Bill the Bull story ever done in print, and it's got a lot of new artwork in it by Mark Bloodworth, and it is just crazy the adventures this guy gets into. You got to get this book because it is far from woke. So if you're a fan of Lobo, if you're a fan of the Hellboy movies, if you like The Boys, if you like that show The Boys, then you're going to want to get Bill the Bull, because it ain't pretty. It is so funny. I mean, I'll admit it, there's a story in there where Bill the Bull gets wasted on his birthday, and he goes after a guy, and they're wasted, and they have the drunkest gunfight in comics, and they're just blasting off round after round and hitting nothing but the ceiling and the walls and the floor, and one guy shot his foot, and it's pretty funny. There's a lot of humor and there's a lot of horror in it. There's a pretty good confrontation between Bill the Bull and Nick, his partner on lunch break, and a vampire priest they have to deal with. He walks that rough edge. He deals with the mafia. He deals with crooked cops. And I grew up reading like hard-boiled fiction, like Andrew Vox, Chicago writer, the late, great Eugene Izzy, Raymond Chandler, James M. Cain. So I like good dialogue. I like intense scenes. And this is it, man. If you want a book that hits the ground running, then you want Bill the Bull, the Omnibus.
Is this the last stand for Bill the Bull? Are we going to get more stuff of Bill down the road, possibly?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. A big part of me doing this now is I had wanted to do this last year. My mother, they delayed her brain surgery because of the lockdown. Her emergency brain surgery was delayed 2 months. And I think that's part of why she's gone now. It's fucking dicks.
Oh, wow. I'm so sorry.
So, yeah, these things happen. It sucks. It really, I don't know. I vacillate between depressed and really angry about it. But I wanted to do this last year. I wanted to have this done while she was alive. My mom would come to the shows with me. I involved her in the shows. I involved my mother in the spotlight. She was known to all my fans as Mamasaurus Rex. And so all the fans knew Mamasaurus. And she was a lot of fun at the shows. And she's in the videos. We're doing a digital download tier with a lot of the convention footage. We're calling it Ma's Family Flicks, Ma Fisher's Family Flicks. And they're off the chain funny. They're really hilarious because we're partying at the show. We got a couple of lawyers that act as our bartenders. They would show up with booze. I have a couple of girls that worked with me, the Boneyard Bitches, and they were my friends and also characters in the comic books. Ginger Hill, Mistress Layla, Mistress Xavier. I miss you, ladies. And we had so much fun at these shows, and I wanted to reconnect with that. I wanted to bring that back and forget about the pain and go to the love. And so that's why I'm doing this, is I love comics and I miss doing comics. I like American Horrors, and I'm having so much fun doing the American Horrors Film Festival. I'm having a lot of fun doing the American Horrors TV show, but comics was my first love. And so Boneyard Press is back. We are back all the way. We're bringing back Dark Angel. We're bringing back Babylon Crush. We're bringing back Flowers in the Razor Wire. We're going to reprint the Dahmer comics that I got into so much hot water over.
Yeah.
And Build a Bull, and all these characters are going to get new adventures in 2022. I've been talking to Dan Fraga about it. I've been talking to a lot of new artists and a lot of old artists. So we've got Max DeVille writing new Build a Bull stories right now. In fact, me and Max sat down and plotted it out and wrote it because Build a Bull is going to be heading to Iraq as a government contractor.
There we go. He's coming back, folks.
And it's going to be written by a real veteran. Max DeVille is a sergeant from the Army, and he fought in Iraq. And so I told him, I said, look, man, if you're going to do this, and he was a Build a Bull fan as a kid. So I'm like, look, Max, if you're going to write this, I'm going to back you up all the way. I want you to be honest about your experience over there. And if some of it's scary or some of it's awful, war is awful. War does suck. I ain't a fan of it at all, man. War is just fucking garbage. And the stuff that he's writing about is truly traumatizing.
But here's the thing about it, though. If he's writing it for you on this, that could be his gateway, man, his therapy. You know what I'm saying? Just like music. It could be his gateway to help him, let go of all this stuff and bring it to life and Build a Bull. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that could be his drug, if that makes sense, and good stuff.
It was definitely a catharsis for me. That's why my work is so dark. I am working off my anxieties. I am working off my fears. I am working off my rage and my hope in the books. I'm putting everything I got into it. And that's how I always am. That's why American Horrors rocks, because I'm on it. I'm in it all the way. Mm-hmm. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it 110%. I'm going to do it the best I can. And that's how we're doing the Omnibus. That's why we got cool vinyl stickers as backer rewards. We just talked about doing poker chips, and I think that Max doing these Build a Bull stories, I think it is going to be cathartic because Max and I are friends and we've spent time hanging out together. So we've had time to talk. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And be out in public together. And we've worked together for at least 5 years now. Maybe we're probably going on 6 years of working together. And so we understand each other. We understand, hey, mistakes happen, and he's bringing something to this. He's really bringing a new thing to Build a Bull. And I like it. And that's the excitement. The same with talking to Dan Fraga. Like, well, I would love to have Dan do something. So Build a Bull has all kinds of lengths of stories. Sometimes it can be like a Build a Bull. It's called Bar Slut. And it's after Bill is shot in the foot and he's pissed off and he's drunk and he needs a drink real bad. So he goes into the first bar he sees and it's a gay leather S&M bar.
Oh, no.
And he's in there drinking a gay leather S&M bar and somebody steps on his foot on purpose. So he gets into a brawl. This stuff is a lot of fun, man.
So when did you realize that this was something special? I know you were doing it in high school and you were selling the comics to your classmates, but what was it for them? What was their reaction? And when did you know this was something special that needed to be pushed more?
Everybody got a kick out of it. I noticed early on, because when you're a kid, just sitting there drawing comic books together on a bunch of kids, and your paper's on the floor and the pencils are on the floor and you're all lying there like a bunch of dogs and you're just drawing each other's books. And I had a best friend of mine, he drew Super Steve or he drew Super Hart and I drew Super Steve, and we put each other in each other's books and make each other into superheroes and that kind of thing. That was fun. And then when I started doing this in school and I would put my friends into the books, because guys, for the first time ever outside of high school, as part of this Kickstarter, I'm releasing the original Build a Bull comics that I did in high school. So those books that I did as a high school kid are going to come out. They're part of the Kickstarter. Right. They're 10 pages each. So they're like an ash can. And I drew about 2 issues a year. So there's like 8 issues. And I think I'm missing one. I'm missing one issue. I can't find it so far. And I'm trying to get a hold of some of my old friends and see if they've got a copy left somewhere. And so we're releasing these as ash cans. You can buy them, you can get them. And then we're going to do a numbered edition of these things. And my friends loved it because the second issue, it's Joe the Hitman Cubisac. And that was one of my buddies in math class. And then it's Ruben the Ripper Torres. And Ruben was one of my nerd buddies in school. I was a comics nerd and an art geek. And I got picked on because I liked comics and I liked art. And I was on the swim team, and that wasn't cool because I wasn't a wrestler on the football team. So I got picked on, like everybody else. It's part of why I got involved in martial arts. So ain't nobody going to lay a fucking hand on me again. And also it's fun. I really like doing martial arts. I really love it. It's a lot of fun. It's a good time. Once you get past the difficulty of learning the initial skills, it's a good, I'm going to call it a good bonding experience. And you get a great group of friends, and it's a real way to work off energy, and it makes you disciplined and helps you deal with mistakes, helps you learn that, you're going to get out there and get beat up sometime. I couldn't believe they bought them. I couldn't believe my friends were paying money for these things. They were paying money for these books, not a nickel either. And that told me, and I sold artwork. I was in art class, and I was supposed to be a chemical engineer. I wasn't supposed to be a crazy artist. I was supposed to be a mad scientist. Rick in the house! Rickety Rick! Can you tell I'm a fan? I identify with Rick the most in that show because I'm kind of a wild maniac genius. I'm not that damn smart. I'm not Rick smart, but I'm smart enough to get myself into a lot of trouble. My dad used to say, "You ain't dumb, son. You're just smart enough to get yourself into a lot of trouble." And I started doing the comic books. My friends were all doing comics, like guys I grew up with, Dan Matson at North Star, who did the book Faust. I went to grade school with Dan. We were always trying to get into comics, and how do we get into comics? And so Dan got into it first, and I got to learn what it took to do a company for real. And I met an artist, Mark Beecham, and Mark was like, Hart, why do you want to slave away on somebody else's Spider-Man and have everything you create owned by somebody else? Why don't you have your own company and have your own Spider-Man? And that was like, ding, 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 light bulb, whoa, lightning struck right in the head. Woo! And I was like, yeah. So I did. And I launched Boneyard Press when I was in college, my last year of college at the U of I. I went for art. I have a degree in painting. And so I was writing and drawing the first Build a Bull Dark Angel book. And I was having a blast. And I was training for my black belt in Taekwondo and having a blast. And that's why I'm doing this again, because when you do comics, you're right, it is a cathartic experience. When you sit down and you draw, you disappear from everything. You're gone. Your focus goes into this. And I found that with art, like when I'm in drawing, I'm lost in the art, and then eventually it's over and I kind of come out of it and I need something else to go get lost in. And then I found that again in filmmaking. I'm a director and I'm a writer and I'm an editor, and also I'm an actor. If you guys want to see me get my head beat in with a brick, and some people probably do, pick up The Orphan Killer 2, Bound by Blood. I have a knockdown, drag-out fist fight with a big Jason Voorhees kind of guy. And also look for me in Mortuary Massacre. I play a corrupt cop, and I get to beat my suspect to death with a pistol.
Oh. Art's all over the place, folks. Was it important for you that each tier had unreleased, non-reprinted buildable comics from '87? I mean, or did you want to throw something else in there possibly as well, or just stick to buildable stuff?
Well, the first Kickstarter we're doing is Build a Bull. So obviously we're sticking with Build a Bull. But in the Omnibus, we have a crossover. It was a book called Ginger Hill Attacks. And it had all the characters in it. It had Dark Angel in it. It had Babylon Crush in it. It had Ginger Hill in it. It had all the Boneyard core characters, my core group of cast, you could say. And these characters are in there. But what we're doing is we're going to be doing these fundraisers over the course of the next year. So we're going to end up doing a Dark Angel omnibus. We're going to be doing a Babylon Crush omnibus. We're doing the Big Book of Dahmer, which I'm going to collect all the Jeffrey Dahmer books I did together.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Woo, we're going to talk about that here soon.
Oh, yeah. And we're going to collect together, like I said, Babylon, and we're going to bring back Flowers in the Razor Wire, which was my erotic horror anthology. And we're going to do it like a Creepy or Eerie or Vampirella, big magazine, newsprint magazine style horror publication. And so Boneyard is back all the way. And when we say buildable, I have plans for buildable video games. I have plans for buildable anime. I have plans for buildable live action films. I'm back with this character. I need an outlet. I need to be writing and drawing. I have been putting together American Horrors. This is our 10-year anniversary for American Horrors. So I've been on American Horrors, the TV network, for 10 years. It's our 5-year anniversary for my American Horrors Film Festival in downtown Lake Geneva. It's the 30-year anniversary of Boneyard Press. I got a lot of meat on the table, and I'm just steadily chewing through it and keeping my ass out of the bar scene and keep my ass working so I don't get my butt into trouble.
Hey, that's what I do at BODS Mayhem Hour, man. You so many denials, so many setbacks, but I tell you what, if you got that love and that passion, you just keep moving on and moving on. So,
and it keeps you young. It keeps you young. You know,
yeah,
a lot of people said, "Wow, Hart, for all the stuff you've done, you still have your hair. Holy shit, you didn't go bald, man. I would have thought you would have gone bald because I've been through some hairy fucking crazy shit. It's why I get along with people like Max DeVille, because we've both been through some shit. Now, he's been through more shit than me. Oh my God. War's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But that connects you. And sometimes, what do they call it? Trauma bonding.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of Boneyard Press, because a lot of the Boneyard Press creations were by hurt kids. They were by damaged guys and gals that had been through a lot, and that was how they were getting through it. Especially my books, Poems for the Dead, my poetry. Gary Way was, you might know him as Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance. He started off as a 15-year-old boy writing for Boneyard. I got him on the Sally Jesse Raphael show with me. He's in the audience. He gets to ask a question on the air. The poor guy was a chubby kid with a lesbian haircut, though. So I really haven't shown that footage around. I didn't want to be that damn mean, but it's going to have to come out sooner or later. Sorry, Gary. And so Gary worked with me, and I worked with Danzig, running Glenn Danzig's company, Verotic. There's a real outlaw rock and roll edge to Boneyard Press that's lacking in any other company. And I think it has to do with the crazy maniac in charge of Boneyard Press, me. And I've got a great eye for talent. I'm really good at spotting. Look at Duncan Rouleau is a big artist that started at Boneyard Press and started with Bill the Bull. John Cassaday from Captain America and the Astonishing X-Men. John started at Boneyard Press. So if you want to see John's first published work, they're Nicholas Stone solo stories, which is Bill the Bull's partner. And they're good. There's a good one where a bunch of gangbanger teenagers are waiting for Nick when he gets home, when he's carrying groceries. It's a nasty little gunfight in the hallway of his apartment building. It's good, like right out in front and down some stairs, and really great work. John was always a very good artist. And so that's in there. Early work by Frank Forte, early work by Jason Moore. If you're a comic book fan of the 90s, these are where these guys, got their chop. They got their chops, and I really pushed them and encouraged them and tried to help them out in their careers, tried to introduce them to people. I wanted my guys to succeed. I believed in my guys. I believed in my people, and I love the stories they did, and I'm really proud of them. And another thing about spotting talent, 4-time Grammy winner, Billie Eilish grew up right next door to me.
Yeah, I was reading that.
Billie grew up next door, and I'm her first director. At least horror director, I think, because she's in. If you watch the American Horrors TV show, she's in the opening credits. She's in the opening credits. She's a little girl. And then if you see a video from Herd the Humans that I directed called Hollow, she plays Death. We had her play Little Death in the video. And so we have a whole making of the video with her. So I'm really happy for Billy and Finney. They were kids that grew up right next door to me. They were next door to me for like 14 years. And so it was a pretty scary neighborhood too. So I'm really happy that they got out okay, and I'm really proud of them, man. I'm really proud of them. It's cool. I'm happy for all their success. Mm-hmm. My hat's off to you guys. I really am. I only wish my wife had lived to see them succeed.
How excited are you that this Kickstarter has actually met the goal that you wanted, man? And just, did you think it would actually hit it, or was you kind of a little?
I was blown away.
Yeah.
The amount of love I've gotten on my return to comics has been amazing. I've been absolutely shocked. Everybody has been really unbelievably cool. Thank you, comic book industry. You guys are really giving me a hero's welcome. Thank you, dudes. Thank you so much. It's what I needed, man. I've lost so much over the last couple of years. So I really needed something. And this has been it, man. This has been really good. The success of American Horrors has been very healing for me. But really, man, the welcome I've gotten back by my compatriots, Billy Tucci and his wife, Deborah Tucci, she and him have been advising me on how to do this. I've gotten some advice from Dan Fraga. He's given me some advice. I've gotten some advice from Ethan Van Sciver on Cyberfrog. And seeing their success and seeing like Brian Polito's success with this platform, the last time I did a fundraiser was for healthcare, for my wife's healthcare, for what health insurance wouldn't pay for. So that was the last thing I did a fundraiser for, and I was able to raise $13,000 for that.
Oh, wow.
But so for me to raise $5,000 for a comic book, I feel pretty good about it. I mean, this is a cult icon. This is a cult character. That's what's so special about this. That's what's so important about supporting this Kickstarter. This is a part of comic book history. It really is a part of comic book history, and especially outlaw comic book history. There's been a lot of talk about outlaw comics, and I won't go into my rant about outlaw comics. I feel like there's only maybe 4 publishers that can actually lay claim to that, and I know I'm one of them, and I know Danzig's Verotic is one of them, and I know EC Comics is one of them, and I'll give it to Mike Hunt Comics for publishing Michael Diana. And in my mind, those are the only real outlaw publishers, because I had the police come to my house at one point and want me to leave town over the Dahmer books and the protest march that was going to happen at my house. The victims' families were protest marching me. Can you imagine that, dude? I'm out of college. I'm like a bouncer at a local bar, and it was an awesome bar. I got to be a bouncer for 2 nights at Cheap Trick in a row. Oh, yeah. Another cool thing, dude. Cheap Trick, those dudes are into serial killers and true crime. So I got to have dinner with all of them, and I got to sign comics for Cheap Trick.
Oh, wow. That is cool.
I'm sorry, I'm a little girl. My babysitter when I was a boy loved Cheap Trick. I loved the Dream Police. I love Live from Budokan. That was a dream come true for me. Working with Glenn Danzig was a dream come true. Working with Marilyn Manson was a dream come true. Working with Rob Zombie was a dream come true. Getting to talk to these guys and hang out with people like this, being a guest to the South by Southwest Film Festival, and being on a panel with Phil Anselmo was awesome. I mean, oh my God. So there's a real rock connection and a real serious, like, groundbreaking artist connection with Boneyard Press. So Bill the Bull is important, and everybody's reaction in the business that I'm coming back will tell you it's important. The fact that Billy Tucci's out there saying, hey guys, you got to support this book is important. The fact that Ethan Van Sciver's like, hey man, it's great to have Hart back. Let's have this creator back. And oh man, it's really cool. And I'm having fun telling the old stories. I'm really enjoying this. You know, it's really good to get out and be positive and say positive things, because a lot of my career in the 90s was mired in negativity and adversity and dealing with stalkers and death threats and people getting raped and murder trials. And just, I was a real broken man in the 90s and a very angry, broken person. So now I'm kind of an accomplished guy, and I have a voice now. It's hard for the mass media to lie about me now, because of all the independent podcasters, because of all my own radio show that I used to do. I had 125 episodes up until mysteriously somebody at SoundCloud mysteriously yanked all my shows down right before the election. Because my show was all about political shenanigans, voting fraud, because our country has a long history of voting fraud, by the way. And I ain't a Trumpy though. For the love of God, I fuck QAnon. I ain't Trump. Fuck the Democrats. Fuck the Republicans. I'm an independent, goddammit, because they're both fucking us. I got to stop when I get going on politics. So this Bill the Bull stuff is groundbreaking. It's heartbreaking. It's going to leave scars in your head. There's some really rough stories in there, but you're going to want more. And that's the key. You're going to want more, because all these artists I've been talking to, that was something that told me I had something special with Bill in the 90s, is because everybody wanted to draw him. Like a lot of times when you're doing your comic book, you know, you go to the shows and you're like, hey, Tim Vigil, I love Faust. Could you do a pin-up with my comic character, Sleazy Wheezy Spaghetti Man? And you don't want to draw Sleazy Wheezy Spaghetti Man because the character fucking sucks, and there's no way you're going to make it look cool. And you're going to have this shitty drawing with your fucking name on it with this terrible character. So a lot of times you'd have to pay them, you know, you're going to make me draw this shitty character. And they don't say that to you. They're not mean like that. They're nice. But everybody did buildable all the time. People wanted to. People couldn't wait to do buildable stories. People couldn't wait to do buildable pinups. And we did a pinup book, 5 Years of Pain, for our 5-year anniversary. And it was our only color book because our motto at Boneyard Press was too tough for color, too tough for color. And I'm going to be sticking with black and white. I like black and white art. I really feel that a lot of these artists have been lazy with the coloring, the computer coloring. Now, granted, a lot of this is really gorgeous. I mean, whoever the dude is that's coloring the new Cyberfrog stuff is amazing. His colors are fantastic. Max DeVille has some pretty good colorists working with him. But sometimes I feel the artists get a little lazy and they just let the computer guy fill it all in. You know what I mean?
I know you've worked with Glenn Danzig, man, but the thing that sticks out the most for me is you did the creation of the infamous Jeffrey Dahmer comic book biography. I want to know what led you to do this and why. I mean, because of all the stories with this guy, because you know the stories as well as I do. This man's a serial killer and crazy. But what led you to do this, possibly?
I'm a child of divorce, and you're staying with your dad for the weekend, and you're a little bored, so you pick up the book and you start reading it. And I start reading all his hard-boiled crime books that are around the house. And, you know, your parents want you to be a reader. They want you to be literate. And, folks, you should be literate. You should understand, because the mass media completely lied about me. They fake news the hell out of me over the Dahmer book. So I had an interest in serial killers and sociopaths from because I lived in Chicago and we had John Wayne Gacy, and I grew up as a kid when he got busted, and Steve Dahl and Gary Myers, you know, did a spoof of Pink Floyd's The Wall. And so I grew up with this stuff. And by the time I hit college, every chance I got to take a abnormal psychology class, I did. Any minor I could jump into and study something about psychology or crime or how, like, let's say one of the classes I had was all about how you use religion to manipulate a population to go to war. That was a great class, very informative class. Remember that. How do you use religion to manipulate a population to go to war, a country to go to war? Mm-hmm. That was a great class at the U of I. I learned a lot from that class. And so I had this interest in this kind of behavior, but I got bored with it. I got really bored. At a certain point, I just realized these serial killers are pathetic. They're impotent. They can't get laid. They don't get girls. They got to kill them to get a girl. And who the hell wants to fuck a dead person? Jesus, what? Get out of here. So that shit I lost interest in it, right? But my friend Dan over at North Star was doing really good with Faust. And he was publishing a book called Chain Gang. It was Chain Gang, which is a really great book. And so he calls me up one day, goes, "Hey, man, have you heard about this Jeffrey Dahmer guy?" And at that point in time, I was a poor college kid. I didn't have cable at the moment. So I'm like, "No, I don't know anything about this dude. What are you talking about?" So he goes, "Well, you've heard about the Kitty Kelly, Nancy Reagan unauthorized biography, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've heard of that." He goes, "Dude, you should do an unauthorized biography series, and you should do this Dahmer guy first." So Dan, you bastard, Dan put the seed in my head, and I started getting involved, and I started looking at the case, and I was sickened by the way the mass media was marketing this guy. People magazine put him in their top 25 most intriguing people of 1991, when the dude's a pedophile. He's a kitty rapist. Ooh, he's a semi-handsome cannibal. The dude's a kitty rapist. Come on. And so in the very first page of the Jeffrey Dahmer biography book, I'm castigating the mass media. I am talking about my disgust of serial killers. I am talking about how knowledge is power, how people need to know how these predators operate so that you can protect yourself from them. And what does the mass media do? Some reporter in Milwaukee buys the book at a comic book store, marches right to some poor victim's family's house, and ambush interviews them at their front doorstep, jams the book in their face. "What do you think of this? Isn't this awful? They are mocking your murdered loved one." And that's where it all went off the rails.
Oh, man.
And it just went off the rails. And luckily for me, I had some good parents in my corner. that were behind me and gave me good advice. My father and my mother, Fred and Doris, they really stood by me and they gave me good advice on how to handle this. And it was tough. It was tough on my family. It was very tough on my everybody in my family. It was tough. My mother worked, like I said, for the Department of Public Aid, and they portrayed me as a racist. And I didn't want to involve my family in this debacle. So I didn't tell them that I grew up with my grandma Ruthie was black. I didn't tell them my Uncle Norman was black. I didn't tell them I have no problem with anybody in their color. You know what I mean? I only care about your behavior. Actions speak louder than words, people. It's about your actions. And I'll take a line from Clive Barker. When you open us up, we are all books of blood and we all bleed red. We are all one humanity. All of us. All of us are. So they portrayed me as this racist, misogynist, Satan-worshiping, dumb, uneducated thug. And it was disturbing at how easy it was for them. And they lied and they distorted in the interviews. I've said this over and over again. CNN News, they sent a really good crew that shot, because by this point, I'd been the subject of lots of interviews. I'd done lots of interviews, and I'd done a bunch of talk shows. So in this documentary, Murder by Numbers, CNN's Murder by Numbers, Hart D Fisher lurks in his evil basement hellhole as he makes these savagely terrible comic books that you must protect your child from. Your child may be warped from these books. When we don't sell books to kids, these books are for grown-ups. It says mature readers right on the goddamn book, you asshole. Oh, so CNN portrays me as this, and they did this thing where they would take the answer to question B and make it the answer to question E. That's very deceptive. That's a lie. That is a distortion. And they did it the worst. Out of all of them, CNN was the biggest pack of lying douchebags. They torpedoed me. The only one that did it worse was the talk shows. You know, the talk shows were the only ones that did it worse, holding up the comic book with the most gory thing in the whole book they're showing you on TV. And they're going, I can't show you everything in this book for the love of God. Oh, but I can tell you this terrible, horrible thing. Oh, God. It's all a shuck and jive, folks. It's I'm the man behind the curtain. I'm here to tell you, you're being manipulated. That's the point of tell a vision. That's why you have a channel. You are channeling a vision. It is spiritual. Oh, I'm sorry. Have I read some books about the development of television and its history? Oh, maybe I have. Why do you think me and Danzig got along so well? Glenn's a student of history.
Yeah. Hart, how can folks stay in touch with you? Do this Kickstarter, man. All your stuff that you're doing. How can you do that, good sir?
Well, you know, go to the Kickstarter, Hart D Fisher's Bill the Bull Omnibus, and my name is Hart, H-A-R-T, and my last name's Fisher, F-I-S-H-E-R. So you can find me on Twitter, on Hart_Fisher. You can find me on Facebook. I've got 2 different profiles. So I'm on Facebook, and you can find me on Instagram. But be warned, if you go to Instagram and you're scrolling, you might see some pictures of my butt, because last year we did a whole gag, naked making bacon. And so I'm naked, bacon. So there's some butt shots in there. Sorry. It was pretty funny. We got a big kick out of it. So I'm on Instagram, you know, Hart Fisher, and also look me up online, www.boneyardpress2020.com. That's boneyardpress2020.com, or AmericanHorrorsFilmFestival.com. And right now we're doing a lot of work on the AmericanHorrors.com website. That's why it's kind of locked down, because we're rebuilding the whole thing. And I didn't want to go through, I've had like this position holder for a while. If you want to see clips of me on the talk shows, go to youtube.com/Crime Pays Hart, H-A-R-T. And I think that's a pretty amount of good stuff to get a hold of me, huh?
And before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Oh, man, I was so happy to come on your show, John. Thank you so much for having me on. And like I said, again, to the groovy one.
Yeah.
I'm Hart D Fisher, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour. You better strap down and get ready. It's gonna get bumpy.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Hour Podcast. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and our YouTube link, and please subscribe to our YouTube link, because Come on, folks. Do me a solid and subscribe. It'll help me out tremendously. And also, please get out and check out Hart D Fisher. Check out his Kickstarter for the buildable Omnibus and all of his good stuff out there. And please support him. He's a great guy. Has some good stuff if you can handle it. Thanks, Fisher. Or Hart, I appreciate you, man, so much.
My pleasure, John. My pleasure. And good luck. Get healthy, and we'll do this again.
You know, there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
with your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.